Hello and welcome to WION. You're watching Inside South Asia with me, Neha Khanna. It's a show that takes an in-depth look at the week's biggest news stories from South Asia and how they impact your life. Here's a quick look at what's coming up. Not a day goes by when Pakistan doesn't make global headlines for all the wrong reasons. But this story simply takes the cake and has heaped international embarrassment on Islamabad. In its overzealousness to earn brownie points and be seen as a friend to Turkey, Pakistan decided to send relief material to the earthquake-hit country, which, as it turned out, was repackaged aid that Turkey had sent to Pakistan last year to help it in the aftermath of the catastrophic floods. When this was brought to light on live television, the Pakistani news anchor was flabbergasted, and she said, "This is so shameful." Islamabad has been left red-faced and Ankara is furious. Not quite how you should help a friend in crisis, and certainly not a good look for Pakistan, a country already facing an enormous credibility crisis and one that desperately needs help from other countries to survive its own unfolding economic catastrophe. We know Pakistan is bankrupt. We know its economy is in free fall. We know Pakistan is begging the IMF for a bailout with no help in sight. And we know that Pakistan is today battling for its very survival. Where then was the need for Pakistan to engage in diplomatic grandstanding and embarrass itself globally while also alienating a friendly country? We're talking about the Pakistani leadership's bizarre decision to pass off Turkish flood aid sent to Islamabad last year as its own relief material, which they claimed was meant to help the people of Turkey who've been devastated by the recent apocalyptic earthquakes. Here's how events unfolded. Authorities in Turkey discovered that flood relief from Ankara to Islamabad was repackaged and delivered to them. The not-so-clever Pakistani officials changed the external boxes containing the aid but forgot to replace the ones inside. The message inside the box stated that the relief material was sent by the people of Turkey to the people of Pakistan after the catastrophic floods last year. This is what exposed Islamabad's cringe-worthy rules.
Flood situation is probably the worst in the history of Pakistan.
The Pakistan government ended up with egg on its face, and Turkey was not amused. In fact, Ankara was so furious, its consulate general raised the issue with the Pakistan Foreign Ministry. Islamabad is yet to respond to Turkey's protest. The shocking revelation was made by senior Pakistani journalist Shahid Masood during a live television show on a local news channel.
तुर्की की तरफ से मोहब्बत के साथ जो सैलाब के दिनों में भेजा था उन्होंने सामान वही पैकेट पैक करके भेज दिया.
The anchor was gobsmacked and at a loss for words.
शर्मिंदगी की बात है.
A few seconds later, she remarked, "This is so shameful." The drama followed Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's recent visit to Turkey. Sharif claimed his country was going to offer steadfast support to the quake-hit country. Significantly, Sharif had earlier been snubbed by Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan when the former declared, just 2 days after the deadly earthquakes, that he was going to visit Ankara. Erdogan told Sharif not to come, as Turkey needed to focus on rescue and relief operations. Shehbaz Sharif's move was widely criticized and mocked as an image-enhancing exercise, a photo op, even tragedy tourism. Let's not forget, we are talking about a country which is facing massive crises on multiple fronts. Take Pakistan's economic meltdown, for instance. Inflation is at an all-time high. There is an unprecedented energy, cost of living and food crisis. The situation is so desperate, parts of the country have witnessed food riots. People are struggling for survival. The forex reserves are rapidly depleting, leaving Pakistan tottering on the brink of default. And despite Pakistan going to the International Monetary Fund with a begging bowl time and again, at the moment there is no help in sight. Even countries that have traditionally been Pakistan's all-weather friends, like China and Saudi Arabia, are refusing to bail it out this time. Experts have warned if the IMF package doesn't materialize soon enough, Pakistan could very well go down the same route as Sri Lanka. Then there is the seemingly insurmountable challenge of growing terrorism. Hardly a week goes by without a major terror strike on Pakistani soil. Most of the attacks have been carried out either by the Pakistani Taliban, known as the TTP, or an offshoot of the Islamic State, ISIS-K. Just a few days ago, heavily armed terrorists stormed the Karachi police chief's office in the country's most populous city. The gunfire left 4 people dead. This was just the latest in a rash of brazen assaults on Pakistan's security forces. The country has witnessed a surge in terror attacks since November last year, when the TTP ended its ceasefire with the government. Last month, a Taliban suicide bomber blew himself up inside a mosque packed with worshippers during afternoon prayers in the high-security zone in the restive city of Peshawar. That attack left over 100 people dead, most of them policemen. Clashes along the border between the Pakistani and Afghan security forces have also seen a major uptick in recent months, with relations between Pakistan and Taliban-ruled Afghanistan fast deteriorating. As if that's not bad enough, Pakistan is also in the throes of unending political turmoil. Opposition leader Imran Khan takes to the streets every few weeks, protesting against the Shehbaz Sharif government and demanding fresh elections. The PTI chairman recently dissolved the assemblies in the 2 states controlled by his party, Punjab and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, hoping to arm twist the government into announcing snap polls. And the former Prime Minister is himself in hot waters, legally, with at least 2 court cases pending against him. Imran Khan just about escaped going to jail and has received interim court protection from arrest, but only until early March. A crumbling economy, utter political chaos, and the daily threat of terror. Pakistan seems to be grappling with an existential crisis. Clearly, not a good time to put up a charade of charity when Islamabad's own pockets are practically empty. Iconic Indian poet and lyricist Javed Akhtar is in the news. This after his video from Lahore in Pakistan went viral on the social media. Akhtar, who was at a festival held in memory of legendary Urdu poet Faiz Ahmad Faiz, schooled Pakistan about terrorism when asked about the possibility of peace returning between the 2 neighbors. Pulling no punches, Javed Akhtar reminded his hosts that the perpetrators of the 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks are still roaming freely in Pakistan. And Pakistanis should not feel offended when India talks about the 2008 carnage that left 166 people dead. Javed Akhtar didn't stop there. He also reminded the audience that while Pakistani artists like Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan and Mehdi Hasan have been warmly welcomed in India, Pakistan never held a single show of the late Indian legendary singer Lata Mangeshkar. His comments drew loud cheers from his audience in Pakistan and is being applauded on the internet.
हमने तो नुसरत के बड़े-बड़े फंक्शन किए, मेहदी हसन के बड़े-बड़े फंक्शन किए, आपके मुल्क में तो लता मंगेशकर का कोई फंक्शन नहीं। तो हकीकत ये है, चलिए अब हम एक दूसरे को इल्जाम न दें, उससे सॉल्व नहीं होगा। ये अहम बात ये है कि ये जो आजकल इतना गर्म है फिजा, वो कम होनी चाहिए। हम तो बंबई के लोग हैं, हमने देखा हमारे शहर पे कैसे हमला हुआ था। तो वो लोग नॉर्वे से तो नहीं आए थे, ना इजिप्ट से आए थे, वो लोग अभी भी आपके मुल्क में घूम रहे हैं। तो ये शिकायत अगर हिंदुस्तानी के दिल में हो तो आपको बुरा नहीं मानना चाहिए।
A month ago, Indian billionaire tycoon Gautam Adani's net worth stood at around $120 billion, making him the third richest man in the world. Just weeks later, following a scathing report on India's biggest business empire by US-based short seller Hindenburg Research, Adani's net worth has dropped below $50 billion. The damaging report that has accused the Adani Group of brazen stock manipulation and accounting fraud sent the Indian stock market into a tailspin and tore through the market valuation of Adani Group's listed companies, with 7 of these firms losing a combined market valuation of a whopping $120 billion. Not only has this corporate saga led to a political war between India's ruling party and the opposition, 92-year-old George Soros, the American billionaire investor, decided to wade into the raging debate, stirring up a hornet's nest.
The developing world.
When it rains, it pours. Nowhere does that apply better, perhaps, than to what was once India's biggest and most powerful conglomerate, the Adani Group. After the Hindenburg Research report alleged fraud and manipulations in Gautam Adani's dealings a month back, it's been downhill, downhill, downhill. In this last month, Adani's market cap has dropped over $135 billion. It's now below the 100 billion mark. To think it hovered above 290 billion at its peak in September last year. Giving the numbers greater context, wealth erosion in the Adani Group stock is equal to nearly 5% of India's total GDP. The loss amounts to more than the entire GDP of Oman, or about half of New Zealand's GDP. Flagship Adani Enterprises is down nearly 60%. Adani Transmission, Adani Green Energy and Adani Total Gas stocks have slumped over 70%. Wealth erosion in the rest of the Adani firms is anywhere between 150% and 380%. His personal wealth has dropped some $74 billion this year, slipping below the 50 billion mark for the first time since 2021. His wealth erosion is the sharpest among the 50 richest on the Bloomberg Billionaires Index. He's also lost the coveted Asia's richest man tag to rival Mukesh Ambani. Mayhem in the conglomerate's numbers is only one end of the story, though. Political tremors ring out far and wide over Adani's alleged links to India's government and Prime Minister Narendra Modi, with the opposition on the offensive. Here's someone who added to the splash on the issue. Hungarian-American philanthropist businessman George Soros fired off at Modi & Co. ahead of the Munich Security Conference.
Adani Enterprises tried to raise funds in the stock market but failed. Adani is accused of stock manipulation and his stock collapsed like a house of cards. Modi is silent on the subject, but he will have to answer questions from foreign investors and in Parliament.
In no time, he had a furious right-wing government at his throat, striking out with allegations of anti-India agendas and ulterior motives.
A man named George Soros has announced that he will hurt India's democratic structure. He has announced that Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be his main target. India has always defeated foreign powers whenever it was challenged and will continue to defeat them in the future too.
Much like the proverbial skeletons tumbling out of cupboards, a string of other wrongdoings emerge against Adani. From reports of no compensation to farmers whose land was taken over for a coal mine in Jharkhand state, to circumventing coastal zone green laws to build an oil storage unit in 2020, to Adani's Australian assets, mines, railroads and ports that had raised protest storms alleging illegalities, to new claims of Adani staff puffing up Wikipedia pages. Where will it stop? When will it stop? Clearly, this storm is not ending soon.
They are among the most persecuted people in the world, displaced and stateless, and living in subhuman conditions in the world's largest refugee settlement. For Myanmar's Rohingya Muslims, things just keep getting worse. In a worrying development, the United Nations has announced its plans to slash food aid to Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh. Why? Because of a shortfall in funds, as countries are simply not donating enough. One aid agency official said, and I quote, "It's unthinkable and unconscionable that these people, with all they've been through and with so few possibilities and options, on top of everything, would now face a ration cut." Has the world completely failed the Rohingya refugees?
The pains of nearly 1 million Rohingya refugees living in 34 squalid camps in southeast Bangladesh just get deeper and deeper. No country, no home, isolated and shunned. Now a cloud over food security too. The UN World Food Programme is to cut food rations for them. It'll be a 17% slash for now, and there are warnings it will get worse unless presently distant funding commitments come about. Experts already cite chronic malnutrition and high vulnerability that is dependent on assistance for basic nutritional needs.
Rohingya people fled from Burma to Bangladesh because of genocide is going on in Burma. That's why these people, Rohingya people, fled from Burma to Bangladesh, first thing. While these survivors are in the camps, even it is not enough for now what they are getting. But if this cutting means this going to be very, very devastating consequences, I believe that Rohingya will face.
Beginnings of the Rohingya nightmare go back several decades to atrocities against them in their original home, Rakhine State in Myanmar. More than 700,000 mainly Muslim Rohingya fled Rakhine in 2017 to escape a brutal military crackdown to Bangladesh. They were resettled in refugee camps, but any signs of normalcy remain remote. They remain barred from working to supplement income. Fences have been built around their camps that stop them from leaving. Daily stressors, traumatic events and squalid conditions have led to mental health issues among many. They stand out as human beings cast out of all human support.
We left home in Myanmar and came here to live as refugees under massive stress only because we could not take the operation. We have to face similar treatment here as well. This means a great loss for the community. We don't want to live in such antagonist atmosphere.
Local media and newspapers write false reports against the entire Rohingya community. No one should label Rohingyas as a threat. All fingers are not the same. Out of 1 million Rohingyas, only a handful may be bad. But it doesn't justify calling the entire community as criminals. It hurts us at how we are being portrayed.
The repercussions for the Rohingyas and the world are huge. Experts have pointed out that desperation could fuel further infighting and unrest in the camps and lead to other global human rights concerns, illegal migration, human trafficking, and worse.
It can create many boat people. People may flee by boat. People might be used by human traffickers, and a lot of bad things. Rohingya people will be used by different groups. That is my worry. When you don't have enough food, when you can't treat your family well, when your family, your child, your wife, they don't have food, you may look for other jobs, which might be, not in healthy atmosphere. It's going to be different atmosphere. So, of course, the human traffickers are there. Many people are fleeing, as I mentioned earlier. This can be a big challenge, a much, much worse situation for the Rohingya people.
And this is just one end of the outcomes. More than 500 Rohingya have landed in Aceh, Indonesia in the last year, most of them headed to Malaysia in search of a better life. They come in after days on end on flimsy boat in wild seas, hungry, dehydrated. Many don't survive. The Rohingya of Myanmar go down in world history as a community spurned and cast out. Echoes of the Dalits in 19th century India, the Ahmadiyas of Pakistan, the Uyghurs of China. Can a human rights body like the United Nations add to woes in the name of cutting costs?
And finally, a couple from South Africa celebrated Valentine's Day by setting a world record for, hold your breath, the longest underwater kiss that lasted 4 minutes and 6 seconds. They set the Guinness World Record at a hotel in Maldives. Beth and Miles are both divers and underwater filmmakers with a love for the ocean. They teach diving for free, and that's how they met 5 years ago and fell in love. The couple had come up with this idea of a world record 3 years ago. Despite all their practice, it turned out to be far tougher than they had imagined. They say they mustered the strength underwater by looking to each other for support. And in the end, the record-breaking feat, in their words, was the hero's journey of a breath hold. Can anyone break that world record now? I'm not holding my breath for it. Well, that brings us to the end of this edition of Inside South Asia. Hope you enjoyed the show. Do join us again next week as we return with all the action from the region. Till then, stay safe and well. I'm Neha Khanna signing off. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to WION World is One.